All right, today we're reviewing the HIT principle. The most important part about this is that we're looking at the word high intensity. So high intensity is what separates it from just normal interval or circuit training. Because without that, we'd just be doing a normal circuit training, right? So it's an interval of high and low intensity levels. We're focusing here on our heart rate. That's how we're really measuring our intensity. So, for example, our high intensity heart rate, we're going to try and we want to be up in that higher intensity, which is, again, when we're talking about heart rate, when we talk about our cardiovascular unit, that's our 85% or higher of our maximum heart rate. So that's a very small, short burst of that. Now our low intensity, that's going to be no lower. We don't want to be any lower than our 60% of our maximum heart rate. So really kind of jumping between our high end of our target heart rate zone and our low end of our target heart rate zone when we're doing HIT training. Now, this is important because when we think about why HIT training is so beneficial, we want to think about what do these different intervals do. So when we work at a high intensity, so that 85%, we talked about what it does for our bodies. It increases our caloric expenditure for this whole thing because during the high intensity, we're burning our, what do we remember from our cardiovascular endurance? We're burning our carbohydrates, right? So at high intensity, that 85%, you tap into burning those carbs. And now in the low intensity, we tap into burning those fats. So HIT is beneficial because you get to burn both. So it increases that caloric expenditure. Now remember, it's so important that we highlight that you have to have a high intensity. If you don't have high intensity, then it does not fit into the HIT workout because it doesn't tap into burning both of those. Now, examples of what that would look like, HIT workouts could be, you could run, but when you're running, you want to make sure that you're running at a higher intensity, so maybe a full speed run for about 50 meters, okay, not too bad. And then we would go into our low intensity, which would be maybe a walk. So this would be an example of active recovery, right? Active recovery is doing something at a lower intensity in between. So we do walk for 15 meters. So then we get back into our run, full speed, right? So that we get into our high intensity. And then we drop down to our active recovery, being our walk for 15 meters. So this is an example of a HIT workout with an active recovery. Remember, doing something in our rest period, okay? Again, we're looking at the run is burning primarily carbs. Our walk then will start tapping into burning fats, right? So carbohydrates are burned during our run, fats are burned during our walk. And again, we're trying to aim for that 85% or higher for our high intensity and 60%, around 60% for our low intensity. So it's beneficial because we're burning both of those, okay? So then another example, this one's going to be one where we can do it with a passive recovery. This is very common. So that's, remember, having like a full rest period where you're not being active. So maybe we'll do jumping jacks for about 20 seconds. So as many as you can get in that time. And then we'll go for a rest for 10 seconds. So 10 seconds, you just get to sit there, try and catch your breath, let your heart rate drop down. Then we'll go into maybe some squats. Squats as many as you can in 20 seconds. Drop back into that rest period. Just kind of hanging out, trying to get your heart rate down in 10 seconds there. So again, this is beneficial because you're going to burn your carbs in your jumping jacks and your squats, burn your fats in your rest periods. But again, why is this not just interval training? It's not just interval training because it goes into the high and low heart rate zones. So that's how it makes it a HIT workout, because you're burning more than just your fats. You're burning fats and carbohydrates, or you're burning more than just your carbohydrates, right? So you're burning both. It's so important that you emphasize that high intensity, because if you don't have the high intensity, it's just a circuit workout. So that's HIT. Again, if you have any questions, make sure you come and ask us. But yeah, focus on that high intensity, dropping to that low intensity.